Thank you. President Stivers, Speaker. Lieutenant Governor Coleman, fellow constitutional officers, justices of the Executive Cabinet, and to all Kentuckians around the Commonwealth who are safely watching from home, including two kiddos, Will and Lila, and of course, once again, thanks to Virginia, with us again to make sure a week ago, I spoke to you about the state of our Commonwealth. I talked about the strength, not break, not to tornadoes, not to ice storms, not even to a pandemic. I also spoke about the record-breaking year we secured the biggest investments and created the we still face. I also discussed the hope that we have from the unprecedented opportunity that is within our reach. Budget. Seize opportunity, a chance to meet this historic moment, a chance not just to tread water, but to lead. My budget is titled Our Future is Now, because now is when we must make the bold investments. Now is our chance to move this state forward, not right, not left, but forward. The budget I outlined tonight reflects our Kentucky values of family, faith, and community, as well as respect and compassion for our neighbors. Building a better Kentucky for all our people and ensuring we are a national leader moving into the future. Folks, we are coming off a year. Last year, we attracted $11.2 billion in we created a new 18 and those jobs fund revenue in this budget compared to the last. We have $1 billion in American hundreds of waiting to be deployed. So here we are at this historic moment, no longer a flyover state, but the destination, no longer a follower, but the leader. Yes, we have arrived. But to stay here, to stay on, you got to be willing to do the work. My budget does the work. It provides record funding for pre-K through post-secondary. It invests in economic development and infrastructure. It funds health care, which is a basic human right. It shores up nursing and social work. It better protects our children and our seniors. And it provides a real and long and our state work. Starts with helping those that have been harmed by December's deadly tornadoes and doing what it takes. December's tornadoes were the deadliest in history, taking 77 Kentucky lives, one as young unprecedented, unimaginable. Thousands of homes just gone. To help these communities. It provides $30 million for impacted school systems so they can provide the support for the displaced. Speed up medium-term housing for those that have lost everything. I've walked the streets of what used to be blocks in my dad's hometown of Dawson Springs. Bremen. But there is also resolve. Our job as a people is to do more than rebuild buildings. And let to everyone who has helped. From Representative Richard Heath, who I called at first light on Saturday, and he was on his tractor, clearing off some of the roads, to the Kentucky Distillers Association, which just raised more than $3.4 million for tornado relief. Frontline heroes and everyday Kentuckians, and to the thousands of folks who had never been to Kentucky, maybe even heard of Kentucky, that offered to help. Western Kentucky families, I think this piece of legislation, executive and legislation, shows that we're standing with you. It shows that I will stand with you. It shows the people of Kentucky will stand with each Western Kentucky family. To reach this bright future we're going to talk about tonight, we must continue to help these communities rebuild. And while we do that, we must keep up the fight to protect our people against COVID-19. The Omicron variant is filling our hospitals. It's impacted the business of this body, and so many private enterprises. COVID-19 has now taken the lives of more than 12,400 of our fellow Kentuckians and over 840,000 of our fellow Americans. We must continue to promote testing. The sick, support our healthcare heroes, and protect our hospitals. That's why I've deployed over 400 National Guard members to help our hospitals. Once again, the Guard is staying. My budget allocates nearly $180 million of ARPA funds for COVID mitigation efforts. It further addresses the critical shortage of nurses we faced during COVID. It provides $12 million in new nursing scholarships, $25 million in nurse student loan forgiveness, and it provides hero pay to nurses, teachers, healthcare heroes, first responders, educators, grocery store workers, transit workers, and everybody else who put their health on the line for us. This budget gets nurses into the profession, keeps them in the profession, and shows them how much we care. And as your governor, I want each and every nurse out there to know that I thank you and I care about you deeply. So this budget addresses the challenges of our present, but it also invests in our bright future, and it does so in the most responsible and fiscally sound manner in decades. Its numbers come from outside economists. It spends one-time funding only on one-time investments. It has more than $1 billion less in recurring spending in 2023 than we'll receive in recurring revenue. And it adds to the largest rainy day account in our state's history. This budget pays down our liabilities, and it fully funds all of our pension systems. With this unique opportunity, there is no reason not to invest for the next generation, my kids and your kids and grandkids. That's for whom we must seize this moment. The budget that I am proposing sets the table for game-changing, maybe state-changing investments, which we must do. Mine is and always will be an education-first administration, and this should be an education-first budget. Because if we want to continue to attract world-class companies, we must provide a world-class system of public education. It's how we begin to address historic inequities. It's how we build a world-class workforce. It's how we embrace the opportunities and the jobs of the future. This budget does just that. It adds record funding, nearly $2 billion over the last budget, to pre-K through high school education. That's right. This budget starts at the earliest age, providing universal preschool for all 4-year-olds and full-day kindergarten for every child, all for the first time ever in the Commonwealth. No longer will tens of thousands of our children be left out of preschool or Head Start. No longer will thousands of children fail to be kindergarten ready. No longer will any child be behind on their first day of school. At the same time, pre-K helps us address one of the biggest, most pressing obstacles to workforce participation. If we do fund pre-K, we do more than just complain about parents getting back into the workforce. We actually do something about it. And the cost is more than affordable. It's $172 million a year to make universal pre-K happen. That is only 8% of our budget surplus, 8% for the future of our kids. I know they're worth it. They are more than worth it, and I hope you think so too. Getting our children into early learning is critical, but this budget does so much more, making the largest single investment in K through 12 in our education history, too. These are historic investments, and they start with a 16.9% increase in SEEK funding. That includes a 12.5% increase in the per pupil funding. And this budget fully funds student transportation, an 81% increase in funding. This budget provides $22.9 million each year to restore funding for professional development, as well as textbooks and instructional resources. No longer will a teacher ever have to dip into his or her own pocket to fund the classrooms they teach in. It provides $6.2 million each year to create social, emotional learning institutes. It creates 2 new grant programs to provide wraparound services to students impacted by violence, substance abuse, child abuse, and parental incarceration. This budget does more than just talk about mental health. It provides resources to help students recover and to heal. It also helps them build careers. Career and technical education centers are a critical component to the high school curriculum and fulfilling the jobs of the future. They help us meet the needs of students in academic achievement, career preparation, leadership development, and they attract jobs to their communities. So I've included $97.4 million this year to support the renovation of another 11 centers. The CT centers included in this funding include the following school districts: Boyd, Carter, Edmondson, Fleming, Grayson, Lewis, Livingston, McCreary, Nelson, and Union counties. And we're going to provide an additional pool of $75 million for a new round of applications to renovate more career technical education centers. And we have not forgotten about schools chosen by our Department of Education that need some extra help. We are providing $14.4 million each year to support all 48 identified schools. And I'm restoring the long-standing library grant program with $2.5 million annually for grants to your local libraries. Jason Glass, our great Commissioner of Education, said earlier this week, all of Kentucky Department for Education's priorities are supported by this budget proposal. Dr. Glass is here with us tonight. Let's give him a big round of applause for his work. Now, let's talk about our outstanding educators. As Lieutenant Governor Coleman always says, the future of our economy is in our classrooms, and we need to make sure those educating our children are paid closer to what they're worth. That's why this budget calls for a minimum 5% salary increase for all school personnel. And that's in addition to the regular salary schedule increases for certified staff. And there will be no health insurance premium increases for school employees. So that's a real 5%. Lori Baker, an educator from Knox County Public Schools who has taught 18 years, said the increase would allow her family to make ends meet without relying on second jobs for the first time. I think we got Laura Hardkey here with us tonight. There she is. Laura is my friend, and she is a math intervention teacher who had to drive an Uber before COVID because her teacher's salary was not enough. Laura, on behalf of all our educators, we hope this raise helps your family meet their ends with just one job. We need to implement this salary increase, but we must do more in this budget to retain our great teachers. So I'm providing $79 million over the next 3 years for a student loan forgiveness program for public school teachers. And we are fully funding our teachers' pensions and their medical benefits. And we haven't forgotten about funding for our family, resource, and youth service centers. I've included almost $6 million more each year to support them. Remember, when a kid shows up to school shivering on a cold day, it's our Friskies that find them a coat. Now, let's talk about the next critical step in building that world-class education system, higher education. My budget provides the highest funding increase at nearly 12% in decades. It includes $60 million for a new Bucks for Brains program. And it addresses another top priority for post-secondary education. That's paying down the debt of deferred maintenance. We cannot let our schools crumble. So my budget includes $500 million, the first significant funding for this in 20 years. And finally, I'm excited we're continuing to push a new necessary program championed by Rocky Atkins, the Better Kentucky Promise Scholarship. This new program provides the last dollars for associate degree and certificate-seeking students. It'll help cover the cost and tuition and mandatory fees for approximately 15,700 additional Kentucky students over the next 2 years. We are in a transformative time. Whether we're referring to COVID or our economic boom, it is clear things are going to be different moving forward. A transformational time requires transformative investments in education. It also requires investments in our success. We, Kentucky, are being chosen as the destination by more and more world-class companies, major corporations, including Ford, Toyota, Amazon, Pratt, GE Appliances, Fidelity, Kruger, Alstrom, Monks, Joe, and Crown are just some that are betting their future on us. Last year, our growth, this growth, was more inclusive than ever before, with opportunities spread out all over this state in so many communities. Examples like Firestone Industrial Products adding hundreds of jobs in Williamsburg, Lion First Responder returning to Beattyville, T. Marzetti with a giant expansion in Horse Cave, and Novellus this week just announced they were nearly doubling the largest investment ever seen in Todd County. My budget aims to pair record funding for public education with key investments so we can turn these last 2 great years of economic momentum into 20 years of amazing prosperity. So let's start with creating and attracting jobs. Last year, we landed the single largest economic development project in our history from Ford and its partner SK Innovation at nearly $6 billion and going to create 5,000 new jobs. The Blue Oval Battery Park will make us, Kentucky, a global leader in electric battery production. But I'm willing to give credit where credit's due. That project would not have happened without years of investment, from land purchases to infrastructure improvements. So this budget prepares us to secure the next Ford, and it aims to provide every Kentucky region with the opportunity to land it. That's why the budget calls for $250 million to develop a site identification and development program. This fund will help communities prepare build-ready sites for our next big economic development project. Kentucky is also leading in agriculture technology, with AppHarvest announcing 4 expansions, Appalachia launching this year, Fresh Harvest continuing to grow in Stanford, and EnviroFlight thriving in Maysville. My budget ensures that Kentucky will be the agri-tech capital of the United States, not just now, but into the future. That means not just having the facilities, not just doing the work, but also coming up with the ideas, creating the intellectual property. That's why my budget invests $75 million to support a state-of-the-art agri-tech research and development center in the heart of Eastern Kentucky. We got one of the guys that has helped make Kentucky the agri-tech capital of the United States. Let's give it up for Jonathan Webb from AppHarvest. We are also working to attract the jobs of tomorrow. So my budget invests $10 million to build a life sciences R&D facility in northern Kentucky. With Kentucky's economy booming, we must continue to improve crucial infrastructure. My road plan provides $8.5 billion to invest across Kentucky, and it includes pushing forward major projects like four-laning the Mountain Parkway all the way to Prestonsburg. It pushes us forward to build that I-69 bridge, and it charts the path to building the Brent Spence Companion Bridge without tolls. In fact, this budget goes above and beyond to support these projects with an extra $250 million general fund investment. Folks, we are using one-time funds so we can push ahead our application to the federal government on the Brent Spence Bridge. These types of dollars are saying we're not only committed to this project, we've already budgeted our share, and now the federal government can step up. There are other key areas where we are investing that are going to move us forward. This budget provides $100 million to build out our EV infrastructure, and it provides record funding for water and sewer grants and loans at nearly $500 million. I believe that clean drinking water is a basic human right, and it should never be dependent on where you live. I've seen examples of how clean drinking water programs that we passed together have helped families. Take Morton's Gap in Hopkins County. It's a community of about 1,000 people. It also had some real storm damage. Thanks to this program, the one that we passed using ARPA funds, several households there now have clean water for the very first time. And if this pandemic hasn't taught us anything, it's that access to reliable, high-speed internet is a necessity in this world. So this budget adds to the fund created in the last session, creating a $500 million fund to expand high-speed broadband to every single part of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. My budget also invests in airports, and it keeps our promise to support the construction of a new terminal building at the Barkley Regional Airport in Paducah with $6 million in additional funding for that terminal. So, now let's talk about workforce. With high-quality education and now pre-K as a foundation, bridging the gap between learning and workforce participation becomes all the more crucial to our future. This last year, my administration launched the Everybody Counts program in Jefferson County. We have great partners: Ford Motor Company, UPS, GE Appliances, and Kroger. They're helping us move towards a big, broad goal of having every single high school senior before they graduate hired into a job, enrolled in post-secondary education, or both, with no one left out. I want to thank Jefferson County Superintendent Dr. Marty Polio, who is here with us tonight. Thank you for helping to support this transformative program. So this budget includes funding to extend this important program to other counties and other school systems. And we're launching a competitive workforce grant program where public and private schools can secure funding for programs that directly connect employers and trainees. Continuing our economic momentum requires us to keep and attract the top talent. To continue growing our workforce, we're funding a media campaign to help attract talent from all over the globe to come join us on Team Kentucky. We have a great story to tell, and it's time the whole world hears it. My budget also aims to stimulate jobs in regions and in neighborhoods too often left out. It provides funding to the Louisville Urban League to reinstate its CDL program. It expands the Louisville waterfront to West Louisville. And it returns 100% of coal severance funds to coal counties. That's nearly $40 million more than the last budget. And we can't talk about economic development without talking about our outstanding tourism industry. Kentucky is a destination for world-class and delicious bourbon. We can clap for bourbon. It's a world-class destination for the finest horse racing, great music, cuisine, as well as our beautiful outdoors and so much more. To keep the visitors coming, I'm directing $200 million in one-time money to pay for badly needed work at our state parks. They deserve it. Whether housing visitors or those who have recently lost their homes, our state parks have been there for our Kentucky families, and we are providing more dollars to boost our tourism industry through a targeted marketing campaign. Now, as I said early on, our budget is a value statement. We lead with our shared Kentucky values of family, faith, and a deep commitment to one another. And to move the Commonwealth forward, we need strong people, strong families, and strong communities. So I want to go back to the title of this budget. Our future is now. When we say our, it must mean everyone. This is a value rooted in my faith. Scripture tells us, for the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. What more powerful message can there be than Jesus being sent to earth, not for the wealthy and the pious, but for those that hurt and suffer, those who need a little more help? Living this faith starts with providing a basic human right, access to high-quality, affordable health care. That's why I made good on my promise to relaunch Connect, our state-based health insurance marketplace, to make sure all Kentuckians have access to affordable health care. In addition to Connect, this budget fully funds Medicaid and Medicaid Advantage, which provides health care to so many of our people, including more than 660,000 Kentucky children of God, who deserve a healthy start to what we hope are amazing lives. My budget funds hundreds of additional slots in the Michelle P. Waiver Program. And also additional slots for the Community Living Waiver Program as well. This budget works to take care of the most vulnerable. It extends the daily reimbursement increase to nursing homes, representing $150 million annually. And they deserve hero pay, too. And through the pandemic, our local health department, from testing to administering, get your booster. Our health departments are on the front lines, so my budget is stepping up for them. I'm recommending more than $36 million. How incredible is your local health department? Deserve hero pay too. My budget provides support for mental health. We fund the new 988 Mental Health Lifeline and fund 24/7, 365 support teams right here in the Commonwealth to help in a crisis. We must also look out for the most vulnerable, like Kentucky's children and our seniors. One of the most heartbreaking times in the by disease in children. That's always been a devastating statistic, but this year, it hit home a little harder for Brittany and I. Because this year, our friend David Turner Jr. died of brain cancer after an incredibly courageous battle. He was 9 years old. You may remember that we honored him by proclaiming May 21st, 2021 as David Turner Jr. Ice Cream Day in the Commonwealth. It's what he wanted. We celebrated his life and his spirit just as I think he would have wanted us to. So in this budget, I'm proud to the Kentucky Pediatric Research Trust Fund to help move forward research for better outcomes for our children. It's the right thing to do. If we are to live out our in the left behind, we must also do more to address child abuse and domestic violence. That's why my budget, this budget, includes a 34% increase in funding for domestic violence centers, rape crimes, all incredible organizations. It also includes $19.6 million each year to sustain and expand abuse prevention services. Like our children, many of our seniors also need help. During this pandemic, we have learned how hunger remains a major problem for our elderly. I'll admit, I was a little ashamed before the pandemic. I didn't know we had a waiting list for food assistance for our seniors. That's right. But we were not getting meals while they went hungry. During COVID-19, we were able to provide meals for every single one of them. And I think we should go $36.2 million over the next 2.5 years to provide everyone. And Kentucky's military veterans. Shared and sacred duty to take care of our people when their service ends. That's why I've included additional funds for the Homeless Veterans Program. That's why we increased the number of Veterans Field Representatives to provide more outreach and get more benefits to our Kentucky veterans. And importantly, my budget boosts funding to provide more staff at our veterans cemeteries. It is the most sacred duty to extra staff is necessary for the number of internments that right now our funding does not keep up with. We're also providing funding to create a permanent memorial. George, Pennsylvania, our current monument, a more dignified, permanent monument. This budget provides the funding for us to do. This budget also puts a priority on improving public. Police is experiencing an unprecedented years. My budget supports an immediate $15,000 pay increase for all. It provides an $8,000 pay increase for our are going to help in both recruitment. This budget also funds body cameras for state troopers for the very first time. These cameras protect everyone, both the trooper and the public. I also direct funding to support other first responders. Officers and local firefighters will receive a 15% increase in their training stipend in my budget recommendation. And other representatives of the Kentucky State Police, let's let them know how much we appreciate their service. Thank you, Commissioner Burnett. You are doing an incredible job. My budget also supports our incredible state workers. That's why this budget, I haven't even gotten to the raise. That's why this budget includes the largest salary increase in decades. My budget proposal which had to go to print before the House May 1st. The House budget includes a 6% raise, though on a later date, the raise for everyone, and let's do it May 1st. The budget ensures that that raise, again, is real. Increases hit our state workers. And as I announced last month, we've taken struggling with caseloads and burnout. So my budget addresses these challenges head on. In December, we provided a 10% pay raise, and this we're adding 350 more social workers to reduce the average caseload by nearly 25%. Job right to try to be there for every child, to not have an for any less than what it takes to protect our Kentucky kids, I think is wrong. This budget budgets for every single child who needs help. And it works to attract and retain more social workers. My budget provides a student loan forgiveness program for social workers, providing a maximum 3 years that you serve as a social worker with DCBS. I want to tell you an incredible story about a DCBS field supervisor named Julie Sun and her 16-year-old Michael. As the tornadoes passed near their house, and they were blessed that they weren't directly hit, they heard a gentleman crying out for help who had escaped from a collapsed trapped in the basement. They worked through the debris, including 5 kids, one just 3 months old. Julie then provided shelter for so many of the survivors, and she was back to work. They aren't able to be with us here tonight, but let's give Julie and Michael a huge round of applause. They are Team Kentucky All-Stars. To further support employees like Julie and others, this is our state pensions. But that's not all. It provides an additional over and above payment of $7 to lessen future liabilities and give our state workers more security that we will be there. When we talk about doing right in state government, we must reinstate the Commission on Women. We must restore full funding to the Commission on Human Rights, and we must reinstate the Office of Minority Empowerment. Those are the right things to do, and my budget does all of them. In this time, where our people have suffered so much through natural disasters and a pandemic, we must of our nature. We must forge this new path with confidence and to help us heal and move this state. Now, we don't have to choose. We can be both fiscally responsible while making investments in our people and our future. The investments that we make in this budget will benefit many generations. To build a world-class education system. We need to continue to be a national leader, attracting jobs of the future. Our families must have access to affordable health care, and our most vulnerable need our support and protection. So let's come together to work on behalf of our people to build this better with our shared Kentucky values and achieve great things for our people together. Our time is here. Our future is right now. Thank you.
Beshear delivering his budget address.